Welcome, everyone, to the Super Wildcard Weekend Sunday edition of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I am your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We are here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you don't have the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingwjs for article and video updates. We got Sunday playoffs. We got 2 days of playoffs, Saturday and Sunday, 3 games on Sunday. And we open up with a wild card rematch of last year with the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tennessee Titans. The only difference is this time, Ravens are going to Tennessee. Jack, what you got for us in this one?
I'm so excited for this one. I love a good playoff matchup where both teams are huge rushing threats. Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram. Sometimes when you're there, they're really showing the last couple of weeks that this Ravens team has gone back to, run first and productive passing. We saw last year, but the Titans and Derrick Henry, I've been big on them all year. We've been big on them all year. You're going to have to stop him. He's the key. Last week we were talking, is he going to get, as a joke to see if he'd get to 2,000 by getting over 230, and he got 250. I think that last year we saw him get the ball 30 carries against this Ravens team. This is going to be so much fun, but I'm excited about the Ravens defense too.
Yeah, I mean, look, these teams actually played against each other earlier this year in November. Henry had a great game, 28 for 133 and a touchdown. They were able to win in overtime. Lamar had a clean game for the most part, only one interception. What I think is really important about this one is I feel like it's going to come down to the defenses. The Titans defense has not been phenomenal the entire year. It's probably the weakest part of their team, I would say, entering the playoffs, 24th in points per game. They're letting up a lot of points, or able to people run and pass on them. So this is a game with the Ravens now kind of riding this hot streak. They seem to have found their momentum late in the season after that Cowboys game where Lamar Jackson came back from the COVID. They seem to just be really running the ball well. They're passing the ball efficiently. We're just seeing them kind of operate well. And if this Titans defense isn't up to the challenge, it's going to be a long one. The one thing I'll say is that the Ravens have defensive playmakers. They got Calais Campbell. They have Marlon Humphrey. They have Derek Wolfe. They have Yannick Ngakoue. They have Matt Judon. They have Jimmy Smith. They have Marcus Peters. They have the playmakers. So now go out there and stop them. Last season, we saw Henry run all over them. You got Calais Campbell to stop the run. Campbell, go out there and stop the run. Stop Derrick Henry from running the ball. Don't let him do it this game, because if he's able to run the ball efficiently, it's gonna be a long game for the Ravens. We saw what happened last year when he's able to run the ball well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna take the Titans at home in this one. I think that the upset is imminent again. I mean, I wouldn't call it an upset. These teams, this isn't the Titans team last year where they snuck into the playoffs, and now they're 11-win teams. Both of these teams, these are two incredibly well-oiled machines on both sides, and you mentioned all those players on the Ravens defense. This is the formula to stop Derrick Henry. What they saw last year, they're going to have to do that. However, I truly don't think that he'll be stopped. I think that he's going to have a big day. And if they start attacking that run game, it's only going to open up the play action pass for Ryan Tannehill. And we always remember, this, like you mentioned with scoring, that Baltimore defense is only second in points allowed. They don't even allow over 19 points a game. So, the Titans are going to have to finish drives and understand this is going to be a big obstacle.
Yeah, I'm going to defer. I got to take the Ravens. Look, Lamar has not done well in the playoffs. He hasn't won either of his 2 playoff starts. Very young in his career, though. But this kind of feels like one of those things that, you got to win. Yeah. It feels like he needs to win this big game, get it done here, get it done now, kind of shake off that notion that he can't win the big games. Go out there, Lamar, and go and win this game for your team. You guys are riding hot. They're doing well. Look, Hollywood Brown has scored in the last in 6 games. He's had 6 scores. That's what you want to see from your wide receiver as a playmaker. Lamar Jackson just ran for 1,000 yards. They had 404 rushing yards against the Bengals to end the season. This is the game for the Ravens to show we're a playoff team. We're ready. Lamar Jackson is definitely the quarterback. He can win the big games. He can win the playoff games. This is that game. I'm going to trust the Ravens in this one. I think Lamar is going to finally flip the script, get his first win in the playoffs, and it's going to be an upset in Tennessee, just like it was an upset in Baltimore last year. So I'm going with the Ravens, man.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I love that. Both of these teams going far in the playoffs. I love that. I would love to see these guys be deeper in the playoffs, but here we are. We get them right now, round one, first one of the game. And you mentioned upsets. Right now, we mentioned how the new playoff format is. The 2 seed is now playing the 7th seed, the newly inducted 7th seed, who are the Chicago Bears in the NFC. But they got to go to New Orleans, who has no crowd and maybe a couple missing pieces.
Yeah, look, Alvin Kamara got hit with the COVID list. He came out 2 days ago. It's Saturday. Today is the 9th, guys. Just let everyone aware of when we're recording this. He came out a couple days ago and he said, I will be playing on Sunday. The problem with that is that just because the player says it's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. He still is either going to need to test negative today or tomorrow. It's looking like he will be a game time decision. Same with Michael Thomas. These are 2 key players that could be out for them. We saw Kamara destroy my Vikings for 6 touchdowns. Montgomery was able to do well. Ty Montgomery was 21 for 105 against the Panthers. We saw that Drew Brees was able to throw 3 touchdowns and do really well against the Panthers. This is a Bears team, though. The Bears are a much, much better defense than the Panthers are. You got Khalil Mack. You got Quinn. You got Akeem Hicks, you got Roquan Smith, you got Danny Trevathan, you got Kyle Fuller, you got Eddie Jackson. Again, like similar to the Ravens team, this defense is stout and this defense is good on all 3 levels. This could be a big game. If there is no Kamara and there is no Michael Thomas, this could be the defensive game that the Bears have been waiting for, to only allow them to put up like 13 points. And Mitchell Trubisky will just need to do enough to get the ball downfield. You don't even need to ask Trubisky to throw 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, or keep up with Brees, just to do enough. Move the ball downfield, able to get the chip shot field goals, get in the end zone once or twice. David Montgomery run the ball efficiently, and the Bears can edge out a win. And the Saints could be upset again by an NFC North team in back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, I mean, and the Saints right now, they really are, as you mentioned, they're riding high. But this Bears team is really getting hot at the right time here. We were even talking in the middle of the season, they looked really good and then they looked really bad. And then they look really good again. And David Montgomery is a huge reason for that. He's going to have to attack this Saints defense. This Saints defense is not an easy task, though, for this Bears offense. These teams are very different. However, the New Orleans as a team is also completely balanced. 5th best in scoring on offense and 5th best allowed. When you're top 5 in both those categories, a playoff team, it can really hurt the game plan of the other team with just having this advantage of having all these star players. However, I do think that Chicago's defense is good enough to bail them out of these games. And I don't mean bail them out, but I mean get that touchdown, force that fumble in the 4th quarter. They have a really good pass rush, but their offense right now, they're going to have to step it up. I understand with David Montgomery, he's having a good year, but they're still a 25th rushing offense. I want to see more from them. I want to see Mitch Trubisky actually take this moment. He doesn't have his 5th-year option. He has Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's playing for a contract. These 2 are going into this offseason with a lot to prove, and they can start with a win here. And I think that the Bears go get it.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. And part of the reason why is these teams also saw each other earlier this year. The Saints edged out a win 26-23. But that was Nick Foles in. And at some points in the season, Nick Foles is definitely playing better than Mitchell Trubisky. But one thing that Trubisky offers that Foles doesn't have is the ability to be more mobile. He's able to pick up chunk yards here and there with his ability to run the ball when the pocket collapses. And that could be a huge deciding factor of who's going to win this game, is that Mitchell Trubisky is able to pick up 50 yards on the ground, picking up a big 3rd and 2nd here, getting a chunk yard play on a 1st down. That could be what changes the game. The Saints are also going to be out with Trey Hendrickson. 13 and a half sacks. He was the team leading in the sacks. I think he was 3rd or 4th in the league for lead league. He will not be in this game. That is a huge loss to not have Cam Jordan and Hendrickson coming down at Trubisky. Now it's only going to be Cam Jordan. This is a huge loss for this team. If they're able to again, Bears defense is going to need to do just enough. They got torn up by Kamara with 9 receptions for 96 yards. If he's not in there, that's a boost. If Thomas is in there, that's a boost. This is kind of going the way for the Bears for me. And I got to trust that between the defense and moving the ball enough with the offense, they're going to surprise. And I hate to mention it, but and sadly the Saints will be upset by another NFC North team. But I think that the Bears are going to get the win, and Mitchell Trubisky is going to get his first ever playoff win,
which would be exciting. We've doubted him in the past, and now he has a big chip on his shoulder going into this one, as you mentioned, just getting Foles back and forth this season. He won this job back. I think he earned a lot of respect. And, if he can go beat Drew Brees in a playoff game, that's what a lot of people are going to take away from this. But,
yeah.
We mentioned how the Bears defense can really, really affect, their opponents. And there's nobody or no team, I should say, that affects their opponents from the defensive side of the ball like the Pittsburgh Steelers do. And they're hosting, we get a little back-to-back because we got to see these teams play last week, but the Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see who's back in the lineup this week.
Yeah, Steelers are going to get all their starters back. They sat Big Ben, they sat Marquise Pouncey, they sat TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. So these guys will be back in. We saw last week that the game was really, really close, a 24-22 win by the Browns. But the Browns will not be with head coach Kevin Stefanski. Two other coaches have also tested positive for COVID and their status. So Mike Preffery will be the interim head coach. He's the special teams coordinator, and the offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt will make the play calls for the offense. This is a huge hit for the Browns to not have your coach in for your first playoff game since 2002. It's really upsetting. I think Stefanski is a candidate to win head coach of the year just for breaking the Browns' drought of not making it to the playoffs. I think that this is going to be a hard one for the Browns to win. Not only are they going to Pittsburgh, it's not going to be in Cleveland. Not only are they facing all of the first team this time around, they're going to be down. No Denzel Ward, there's going to be no Kevin Johnson. They're out two of their starting cornerbacks. They're not going to have a head coach. Myles Garrett and Sheldon Richardson are questionable. Stefanski said this week that he does expect them to play, but they're banged up coming into this. Olivier Vernon just tore his Achilles in the final game of the season.
Yeah.
So they need to now pick up all the slack that happened and what it is that Vernon brought to the table. I feel so bad for the Browns because they're finally in it, and now they're getting injuries and COVID and things like that. And of course, they're going up against one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, with what they do on the offensive side of the ball, we've seen Baker really be able to over the last couple of weeks turn this Browns offense back on. And like you mentioned, but the Steelers defense top 3 right now in total yards, in passing yards, points per game allowed. It is not fun to play these guys. And last year it wasn't fun to play them, but now they have Big Ben back. The whole thing I want to see here is honestly James Conner and these running backs picking the slack up. I do not believe that Pittsburgh will be able to make a deep playoff run if their run game is not able to get going. Big Ben is a guy that has made it happen before, but that's not a winning formula to me. I think that on the other side of the ball, you're going to have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. You're going to have these guys running the ball at least 30 times a game. Because Stefanski's not there. You're going to be running a pretty basic playbook. There's less communication when you have a coach that doesn't call the plays. So that worries me on the offensive side. All these injuries on the Browns, another huge one. I think that guys like Deontay Johnson, and Claypool could have a big day. Well, especially Juju with all these injuries to the secondary. I'm not really liking it for Cleveland right now, but they really could. Cleveland, watch out. They could win this game with their running.
Yeah, I'm gonna trust the Steelers. I feel like I'll rely on that defense, the experience of Big Ben in one playoff game. I think you're absolutely right. The formula for them to win, which is trust that Big Ben can just pass the ball 40 times and they'll run the ball maybe like 10 for 10 yards. It's not going to be a winning formula. You're not going to beat the Bills like that. You're not going to beat the Chiefs like that. It's not going to happen. You'll probably barely beat the Browns, things like that. You won't beat the Ravens. You can't beat the Titans like that. It won't happen that way. You have to be able to run the ball efficiently, be able to run the ball well, and they haven't been able to do that. I don't trust their run game at all. And I think you're absolutely right with the Browns. I think that they will see the ball like 30 to 40 times for Hunt and Chubb. I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. But I don't also want to negate the fact that I think that Baker Mayfield needs to have a multi-touchdown game. I'm talking like 3+ touchdowns in this game. You like if he's their guy, if he's going to bring all this attitude and they want to be this and they're really bringing this winning culture, this is the moment. You got to go head for head with Big Ben. Every touchdown he scores, you need to score. This is just one of those games where you're now in the playoffs. You got to set the tone for what this team is now expectations are. He came out last week and saying, there are new expectations for this team. That's 10 win seasons. That's making it to the playoffs. That's competing in the AFC North to possibly even win the AFC North and things like that. You can't have a Jets game where you just play like crap. It just can't. It will be unacceptable. You have to have a huge game, Baker Mayfield. That this is now kind of. This is why they got you. You were finally the quarterback that was able to make it all work and take them to the promised land in the playoffs. Have a big game for them. You can rely on your running backs. Open up the play action pass with him. Use Jarvis. Use Higgins. Use your 2 great tight ends in Njoku and Hooper. Get everyone involved this game. You need to really utilize the weapons that you have against a great Steelers defense. I got one question for you. Who's going to have more receiving yards in this game? Juju Smith-Schuster or Jarvis Landry?
Ooh, I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that the matchup is better. I like the ceiling that he presents every week with, an ability to maybe get a couple extra, just those extra targets per game. And I think Jarvis may have his handful. We saw Minkah Fitzpatrick locking him up one-on-one, shadowing him. And, Minkah can play corner. He can play safety. So whatever they're going to be able to throw at him, he's going to be able to give them a little bit of like a struggle, and this whole defense is going to present a whole struggle. So I agree. If Baker really wants to make this count, he goes there, he gets 3 touchdowns, but I'm going to go and take the Steelers in this one. I think it's just their home. They won last week without they lost last week by a little bit without all their starters. I think when all these guys come back with a week-long rest, it's Steelers time.
Yeah, I'm going to also go with the Steelers. I'm going to do a surprise thing now. I think the leading receiver for the Browns on Sunday night, I'm going to say Austin Hooper.
Okay.
I feel like we haven't seen a big Austin Hooper game. I'm disappointed that, they signed this great tight end and they haven't been able to just do enough with him. And I think this is the moment that Austin Hooper shows up and shows why they spent big money on a tight end in the offseason instead of sticking around with Njoku. Austin Hooper is going to be the leading receiver for the Browns. That's my call.
I like that. I'm going to throw out another little thing in there. I think that despite the fact that this defense is so good, I think that Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb each get 100 scrimmage yards each still.
Oh, wow. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Got to make it get interesting.
Let's see what TJ Watt has to say about that tomorrow night. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. That's all the time that we have. Go and enjoy the Saturday playoff games. Enjoy the Sunday playoff games. These are great matchups, and they're going to be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, we're gonna be watching all weekend. We're gonna be waiting to see who's moving on to the next round. Stay updated with us. Check it out. JustSayingFootball.com. You can always check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Just Saying Football and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your updates, for all your articles. Check it out. Follow. See ya. Enjoy the playoffs.
Enjoy.